Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer action. We're here today with the Lizardmen. We're going to be taking on the High Elves, so let's get to it. Yeah, I played a few games here with Evan practicing as the Lizardmen, so I'm going to be showing you guys those kind of interspaced over the next week or so. So here's one. We've got TEHENAUIN against the High Elves. I do believe he's a pretty good choice. Lore of Beasts, of course, very solid. Transformation of Kadon, Pants Pelt. For that physical resistance as well. We've got Skinks, Red Crest, a couple Croc scores mixed in the front line as well. Rev Crystal also to heal. For the offensive monster, we've got a Feral Carnosaur backed up by some Skink Skirmishers over here. For Evan's High Elves, he's got Teclis on horseback, Silver Helms, 3 Sisters of Avalorn is the majority of the hitting power here, just some Spearmen, and then of course an Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. We've also got, more Spearmen and Silver Helms in the back, so obviously looking for some nets and heavy armor-piercing missiles. Pretty good play there. You can see that's exactly what's going to happen here, and because of the overcast net, it is going to actually catch this Feral Carnosaur and both these Skink Skirmishers. Granted, this is a lot of Winds of Magic, and these sisters aren't really in a position to capitalize on the Carnosaur itself. I mean, yeah, this Skink Skirmisher is going to get run over, but it's 400 points, right? Not the biggest deal in the world. Does look like there are some Reavers also in the back line I neglected to mention. So yeah, it's just going to be a bit of a slow advance here. He's going to start focusing this unit of Croc scores over on the far side, and Sisters of Avalorn definitely have very legit missile damage. You can see there a little bit of mistargeting goes into the Skink cohort. That's fine by me, but these Croc scores are just going to take an absolute pounding. Meanwhile, over here, the Silver Helms did collapse and try and take out these Skinks, but obviously the Feral Carnosaur going to be here to provide that anti-large AP, just be able to hopefully see those Silver Helms off, or at the very least do some damage there in return. You can see here we're going to bring in the Orbital Bombardment, the Engine of the Gods here. Going to absolutely wreck through some of those High Elf units. Does clip through these Sisters of Avalorn as well, that nice thick formation. Doesn't do too much damage, but in general got quite a bit of work done there. We've also got the Manticore summon. And yeah, unfortunately that one unit of Croc scores did get routed off the side there, but this other unit going to push up and around the flank. And you can see some of these Spearmen starting to crumble a little bit here due to the terror and just overwhelming numbers of Skinks. So we're going to start to get into the back line. And my priority target number 1 is to take down these Sisters. Evan's going to do a good job of trying to pull them back here, but I'm just going to push everything through. I mean, these Skinks have fast enough run speed, and the Red Crests, of course, with their poison, can keep these Sisters slowed down so that the Skinks can catch up. The Silver Helms are going to come, try and collapse a bunch of the Skinks here. I don't really have too many heavy units since the Croc scores are, out of position here. So the Skinks will take quite a bit of charge damage from those Silver Helms, and it's going to be a little rough, but we do have plenty of numbers. And I mean, the Red Crest, once the charge bonus wears off of those Reavers and Silver Helms, the Red Crest with their poison and AP will be able to do a little bit of damage in return. We're going to get that second Manticore summon going. And again, just try and use both of these Manticores to pressure the Sisters as much as possible. If we come in for a cinematic shot here, you can see the Skink Boppers. Oh man, I love the Red Crests with their little two-handed maces. The Reavers punching through. But TEHENAUIN obviously going to be very, very tough to take down without those Sisters. We do manage to catch Teclis here, get some good damage in. Obviously, he's got that Potion of Troy to heal himself up. So if he can escape here, he should be okay, but let's try to hopefully finish him off. Looks like an enfeebling foe on TEHENAUIN himself. That's a pretty good play there. These Croc scores still have been able to get into the Sisters of Avalorn, but despite that, took a bunch of damage here. We've now got the Feral Carnosaur moving in as well. I'm pretty comfortable. We've cleaned up most of this pocket. Unfortunately, these Sisters still are being able to kind of punch through a little bit here. And yeah, I mean, it's getting a little bit tough. The Lizardmen infantry is starting to run out of steam a little bit here. I only really have a few Red Crests and the cohort of Sotek left here. The rest of the Skinks have mostly routed off at this point, unfortunately. We do still have the Rev Crystal, which is going to be very important. Whoops. And yeah, unfortunately, the Bolt Thrower crew has been able to get back online, and even though there's not too many Sisters left, there are still a few Sisters remaining here, so could potentially be a pretty tough situation. And yeah, here comes TEHENAUIN in. He's going to get some heavy work done. I mean, of course, the Sisters are going to be the main danger to him. The Bolt Thrower will also be able to get some good work done. looks like these Kroxgor are still fighting in here. The terror is going to be quite a bit for a lot of these high elf units, obviously, but Sisters of Avalorn, one thing about them is because of their high melee defense, you know, relative to other missile units, especially the Regiment of Renown, they can be surprisingly tough to take down, especially when that martial prowess is active. They can be pretty survivable compared to some other types of missile units, especially if you're on top of your micro, kind of pulling them out. And, you know, 5 minutes into the battle, it's still relatively even. I'm slightly ahead on the balance of power here, but there's still so many sisters alive. I'm not really too comfortable with my chances at this point. This Rev Crystal is starting to take some shots, and I'm going to need that healing in the late game. Thankfully, this Cav can't really hold up the Carnosaur. And this is sort of a philosophy you guys will see me take quite often. Oh man, real quick, here's a beautiful orbital bombardment incoming right on this line of high elves. It's mostly going to catch actually cavalry, but it still does a ton of damage. And catches a few of those spearmen as well, so yeah, pretty decent. But anyway, so the philosophy of the hammer and anvil in terms of monsters, so you guys saw this sort of with the steam tank and Karl Franz replay the other day. Similar to here, you have the defensive monster and the offensive monster. So in this case, the offensive monster obviously is the Carnosaur, and then TEHENAUIN is the anchor. Or, you know, in the Empire army, the steam tank would be the anchor, and Karl Franz would be the offensive monster, so to speak. Just that way you kind of have a sort of a solid presence in the front line, something that can tank a lot of damage preferably, and just run around, well, maybe not run around, but, you know, it sit in a sustained fight if it needs to, maybe run around if it needs to, but then the offensive monster can kind of run. If it needs to, it can pull back, you know, to where the defensive monster is fighting and then go out again and, you know, just kind of be more mobile in that way. And I find it works pretty well to kind of mix the different monster types together so that you can get those different roles fulfilled. But yeah, the bolt thrower is still online in the late game, doing a little bit of friendly fire. We've also got Sisters of Avalorn also opening up shots here, so it's going to be relatively tough in the late game just because I don't have any way of shutting these guys down besides these monsters. So we are going to potentially take a bit of missile damage here. Did we get one more cast of the Rev Crystal? Oh, no, just like the stop rampage from TEHENAUIN there, but yeah, TEHENAUIN on the Engine of the Gods, definitely very, very strong. Up to 165 kills so far against a relatively small High Elf army. I mean, it's not super tiny, but still. He has been doing some heavy, heavy lifting here. He is an absolute menace against the High Elves. And even against a build with good anti-large tools, which, I mean, 3 Sisters of Avalorn is definitely good. At least anti-monster tools, at the very least. Yeah, been able to just tank through all that damage. And yeah, credit to the Skinks as well, of course, to break through the front line. But after 7 minutes, we're still back to dead even. I had been slightly ahead on the balance of power, but the Sisters of Avalorn, even in the late game here, you can see why I was focused so heavily on taking them out, because even just with a few models, they can do so much damage in a late game situation like this. So yeah, it's not looking too great. That bolt thrower just used up the last of its ammunition though, so that's going to be done with, and there's, I mean, literally only 7 sisters over here, so we'll see. Even still, you know, 7, 13 here, still can be pretty dangerous potentially, so we'll get the Carnosaur back in just a minute. And yeah, Pan's Pelt here to give a bit of physical resistance to help against like the Phoenix Guard and the Spears and so on, and I'm going to see if I can't go after these Sisters of Avalorn here just to try and finish them off. Definitely don't want to keep getting shot by them. Carnosaur is going to try and make its way over here, so we're going to fast forward a little bit through this late game situation as TEHENAUIN kind of fights here and tries to go after Teclis a little bit, and finally unify with the Carnosaur. Now we're going to kind of fight in this little Death Star. So we'll grab some cinematics of the dinos mashing on some High Elves here, and the leadership could potentially become an issue. You can see I'm trying to go after Teclis as much as I can, just because if we can finish Teclis off, then obviously the High Elves are going to be a lot more likely to rout. And in a late game situation like this, High Elves, because they have really good leadership baseline, it can lead to some situations where you just get beat by leadership, which would be a little bit painful. But, I mean, both of my monsters are getting pretty low health at this point. We do still have Pan's Pelt to give that Carnosaur a little bit more speed to try and catch Teclis, and the physical resistance, of course. Unfortunately, Evan did a great job there of dodging that attack. But here comes the Carnosaur now, and with this rear charge, we should be able to get some good damage done. Teclis might be able to squeeze out of there. He looks like he's, yeah, he probably is going to make an escape there, unfortunately for me, but still. These high elves are doing a good job. Honestly, the bounce power tipping very heavily against me, but then as soon as Teclis takes a hit there, obviously you can see he was a significant portion of that bounce power. He's pretty close to his healing cap at this point, and finally Teclis gets terrified and routes right off the side of the map, which is right here. And of course that's going to lead to an immediate leadership route and just mass terrify all of the high elves, and that's it. So very well played to Evan. Out of the series, this is probably the closest game that we played, but yeah, man, it was super, super close to the end of the day. You can see, like I said, why I was going after those sisters so heavily. They are such a dangerous unit. Even with just a couple of unit models left, even just a handful, they can still do a ton of damage, especially in a late game situation like that. But you see the power of the dinos here. 247 kills at the end of the day on TEHENAUIN on the Engine of the Gods. Just some super, super heavy lifting. 126 kills in an XP Chevron for the Feral Carnosaur. Definitely deserving of some head scratches when we get back. 79 kills on the cohort of Sotek as well. 62 for these Red Crests. I definitely like Red Crests quite a bit in this matchup. You know, they're not necessarily going to win straight up against most High Elf Infantry. They might against Spearmen, but against most High Elf Infantry they probably won't. But they're just a great kind of poison support AP unit. And obviously the cohort of Sotek being unbreakable, having better stats because of their Regiment of Renown status, quite useful in a number of different ways. As for Evan here, the Silverhelms definitely got some really good work done. I didn't have the best counter-cavalry tools. I was mostly expecting maybe just one or two Dragon Princes, but the Carnosaur was able to kind of clean them up, but it took some time. They definitely did a bunch of damage to my skinks in the meantime. Same thing with the Reavers, honestly. At 550, I think Reavers are really, really good for the price right now. I mean, they can get really good work done, especially against light infantry. They're, in terms of cost, I mean, they might be one of the best light cavalry units in the game, just in terms of their like cost to melee stats ratio. But the Phoenix Guard, they did okay. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of elite halberds just in general, but you know, they did all right. Definitely Teclis with the Triple Sisters is very dangerous, and almost brought it back there at the end. So very well played. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.